Here we have 9.2 absolute value equations. We want to remember that anything that is in the absolute value bars will be simplified to equal a positive number. So whether we start with a positive number or if we start with a negative number inside, when we simplify that, it becomes a positive number. So we want to remember that if I have the variable x in here and we want to see what it represents. Well, you want to remember it represents this negative value and this positive value. So x will equal a +5 and a -5. And here I'm just putting the plus to emphasize that it is positive. You know that we don't have to write a positive to show that it is positive. Well, we're going to be working on equations, and so what we want to do with equations, you want to isolate the absolute value portion of the equation and make sure that the constant term is positive, because remember, everything that comes out becomes positive. So if I had something, if I had m equals, let's say, a -7 or any negative number, then this is not solvable. This is the empty set. Okay, or we might say no solution. This is going to be the answer. So this is our procedure, and then we have to remember that after we do that isolation, that whatever is over on the other side of that equal sign, it must be positive. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some examples. Now here my absolute value, and make it nice and tall so we can tell that it's absolute value and not a 1. This is isolated, it's by itself. And so what we're going to do this problem twice. And remember that our answer could equal a negative or it could equal a positive. So that's what we want to do, is we're going to remove those bars, set it equal to the negative version and to the positive because of what we said up here at the top. So let's go back. See, it could be inside here, it could be positive, it could be negative, and that's what we're looking at. Our x could be positive or negative, and so that's how we're going to work these equations. You want to isolate the absolute value first, and then we're going to do it twice, making one of them equal to a positive and the other equal to a negative. And then it's just a matter of solving the equation. We're going to add 5 to both sides, divide by the 2. Here we're going to add 5 to both sides and divide by 2. Now, always with equations, check your equations. This is going to be extremely important for your test. So we start with, when we're checking, we want to start with our original equation. And so I have the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals 15. And I have two answers, so I'm going to end up doing this twice. So I'm going to go ahead and write that twice. Then let's take our answers and put them in here. So I have 2, and I like to put that parentheses to hold the value of my number. And here we're doing -5. Remember, do everything inside. These are just like parentheses as far as order of operations is concerned. So in here we would multiply. Then we're going to combine. And at this point, we probably know that we're right, because we know that the absolute value of -15 is 15. But I like for us to show that. So I like for it to show that this is 15 on the left and the right was 15. So at this point we can say these two answers match, and what that means is this -5 is correct. Let's now check the 10. Again, absolute value bars, put the parentheses, drop in your 10. Follow order of operations, making those absolute value bars big, comes out positive, and again, these two match. So that tells me my 10 is correct. I know that on your homework on MyMathLab, you are going to just put in the answer, hit enter, or check answer, and you're depending on that computer to tell you if these two answers are right or wrong. On your test, you don't get a second chance. You need to do the checking. Okay, so here we have another equation. Here we have a term with our absolute value that's outside of it. This is where I'm talking about we need to isolate this. So we're going to subtract this. So I'll have the absolute value of 3x equals 21. 22 minus the 1 when we move it over. And then we are going to divide by the 3. Well, remember, we've isolated it. Now we want to do it twice. Let's do the twice thing. So we've got 3x equals 21 and 3x equals -21. And then let's check these. Start with your original equation. And then we're going to come in and replace. We'll do it twice because we have two answers. Okay, so I'm going to take this 7 and put it here. And this 7, -7, and put it there. And then let's finish these out. So here we are checking. So I have the absolute value of 21 plus 1. The absolute value of 21 is 21. And these match. So then I know that +7 is correct. Take it out of the absolute value as positive. And finish working on both sides, and they match. And so then my -7 is correct. All right, let's do one That's a little bit more difficult. Let me see. What if you have absolute value on both sides? Let's look at one like that. Okay. What we want to do here is we're going to remove those bars, and this is our positive version, and then we have to do a negative version. All right, so I want to move, and my largest x is over here. I like moving my smaller x, so I'm going to do that, minus the 3x. Then I want to subtract the 2 from both sides. Then I'm going to divide by 6, and it's a fraction, so then I need to simplify. Over here, I've got to distribute that negative with everything. Now my negative 9x is the smaller one, so I'm going to add to both sides. So it's negative 9 plus 9, so that will give me 12x. Then we need to move this over. We're going to add it. So plus 1, divide by the 12 to get another fraction that does not need to be reduced. Okay, let's check these. And you know, with fractions, it's going to take a little bit longer to do the checking, but do not let the fractions scare you. We know how to do the math, so that's what we're concerned with. Okay, so we want to do the checking. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking at my original equation here. This is what I want to start with. Instead of rewriting it, I'm just going to go ahead and set it up to accept our answers. Well, let me write a little bit smaller so I can get both of them the same. Well, let's plug in our answers. Okay, so here we're going to have a negative 3/2 minus 1 equals a negative 9/2 plus 2. Let's go ahead and change our whole numbers to fractions. And my two answers match. So that means that one is correct. Here we can do some cross canceling and go ahead and do some reducing. I have 3 on the top and 12 on the bottom. So that's going to give me, or let me just go ahead and multiply it out. Let's just go ahead and do that. Then I'll reduce it. Be a little bit easier to see. This is going to become 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and change that. And do the addition. This is going to become, I'm going to divide by 3. It's 3/4. Go ahead and change this to fourths. And what has happened here? Okay, I see what's happened. This is going to become 5/4. Now, something I left off on all of this, I don't know if you noticed it, but I left off the absolute value. So here, let's do that. Because really our answers shouldn't be negative, they should be positive. And that's going to help me when I get over here and I'm looking at, those don't match. But when I take the absolute value of those, then they do. So let's go ahead and take the absolute value of that so that this becomes 5/2 equals 5/2. This is a positive 5/4 equals a positive 5/4, and it matches. Okay, so I left off the absolute value bars while I was doing the work. And although these two answers equal, I still need to take it that one more step. It got me over here. You know, when I'm getting here and I have a negative and a positive, I still need those absolute value bars to finish it out. And then I can see that it checks. And so both of our answers are correct. Okay, I'd like for you to do some practice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of problems that are a little, we haven't seen exactly the same problem. And so let's do some practice. And remember, you want to write the problems and then pause to do the work. And then come back and check. And check your answers. Okay? So the first one, absolute value of 2x minus 2 equals the absolute value of -6. On this one, I would go ahead and that would be the first thing I did. It's because I can take the absolute value of that and be positive. That's where I would start. So I would go ahead and 2x minus 2 equals 6. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you know. Go ahead and start there. The second problem, okay? All right, so go ahead and pause and do your work, then come back and check your answers. And voila, all of it appears. You notice here that -2 becomes 2 when you simplify it out of the absolute value bars, but it has that negative in front. And remember, the very first thing we said is you cannot have the absolute value of anything equal to a negative number. It just doesn't work. And so this gives us the empty set. Okay, I hope you are doing well with your work. You'll be taking a test soon. So good luck with finishing up Chapter 9.